What good is the dawn that grows into day? The sunset at night, or living this way. For I have the warmth of the sun within me at night. The love of my life, she left me one day. I cried when she said, I don't feel the same way. Still, I have the warmth of the sun within me tonight. I dream of her arms, and though they're not real, just like she's still there, is the way that I feel. My love's like the warmth of the sun, and it won't ever die.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 40th episode of the Raedar and episode number 16 of Beach Boys Summer, the final episode of Beach Boys Summer. Not the final episode of the Raedar. I will be back in September with my usual music shindig, but this is the last Beach Boys related episode I should be doing for the foreseeable future, unless I decide to disregard what everyone else thinks and just keep doing Beach Boys stuff. But these are the two final Beach Boys albums to this date. I don't foresee them making any more. So here we are. We finally made it. Episode number 16. I have a lot to talk about, so I would like to continue with haste because there's a lot to mention. So where did we leave off? It's the mid-90s. The day after Brian was finally able to completely sever ties and get a restraining order from the abusive Dr. Eugene Landy, he would call up Andy Paley, who he worked with on his debut album in 1988, and asked him, hey, I would like to write some more songs with you. I want to work with you again without Eugene Landy's, input. He even suggested that these songs that he had ideas for could lead to a Beach Boys album instead of just another Brian Wilson album. It was during the sessions for this album that a documentary would be made about Brian in 1995 called I Just Wasn't Made for These Times, which details a day in the life of Brian. The soundtrack included solo covers of Beach Boys hits, including the same track, I Just Wasn't Made for These Times, from Pet Sounds. This would be released as his second official solo album after his self-titled. Brian will also record an album called Orange Crate Art with Smile collaborator Van Dyke Parks, if you remember him. The sessions with Paley would range from 1987 all the way to 2008. When Brian showed some of the songs they worked on to the rest of the Beach Boys in the mid-90s, some were enthusiastic about the content, others not so much. Ultimately, although some songs are recorded after these sessions, even with some Beach Boys participating, for example, there's a song called Soul Searchin' you can find on a box set on Spotify and Apple Music, and Carl sings lead on it. It is heavenly. Soul Searchin', oh my god. It's fantastic. The album and its sessions were never officially released in its entirety. Although, like I said, some songs have been released scatteredly across different box sets afterwards. A month ago, actually, however, Brian's former manager confirmed that an official release for these sessions are in the works, so that's exciting. Andy Paley himself, who co-wrote a lot of the stuff on the first album, like I said, would go on to write music for TV shows, including the song The Best Day Ever for SpongeBob SquarePants, which is pretty cool. So in case you've ever heard that song and thought, this feels Beach Boysy, that's why. Although the Paley sessions fell through, work began on a new Beach Boys album, a Beach Boys country album, a Beach Boys country album of covers. A country album of Beach Boys covers with Beach Boys backup vocals. So what I'm saying here is it's an album of Beach Boys songs covered by country musicians with Beach Boys as the backup vocals. Does that sound awesome and thrilling? No, of course not, because it's not. It's a weird concept, it's boring, and it should not count as an official Beach Boys album. Regardless, on August 19th, 1996, Stars and Stripes Volume 1 was officially released. Exactly 29 years ago. To this day, which is kind of fun. This is the second time I reviewed an album on the day it was released, so who would have thunk the Beach Boys would have released a lot of albums during the summertime? The album would go to number 101, which, isn't great. No one really cared about it all that much, and I still don't understand why it's an official Beach Boys release in the canon. Now, after Carl died, Al Jardine would quit the band and start his own touring group, the Beach Boys, Family and Friends. Him using the name got him into legal trouble. He then sued Mike for excluding him over live shows, who then sued back. And there was this gigantic legal mess, and it was a mess for everybody. It ended up with Al not being able to legally tour using the name Beach Boys or use any projects with the name Beach Boys at all. Mike would continue to tour with the Beach Boys name, with Bruce, and with David. Who's David? David Marks. Do you remember David Marks? David Marks was the Beach Boy who replaced Al on Surfin' Safari, Surfin' USA, Surfer Girl, and Little Deuce Coupe. That guy's on the first 4 Beach Boys albums. He's an official Beach Boy, and I really regret not making him a Funko Pop. But yeah, David Marks is back. Welcome back, David Marks. Yay! If you look at any of the pictures of them carrying the surfboard on the beach, that's David. Brian would also tour beginning in 1999. He would have a touring band consisting of a few guys who toured with the Beach Boys previously, some session musicians, and a band called the Wondermans. This tour really reignited Brian's passion for performing. In 2000, Brian would tour full live performances of Pet Sounds with a 55-piece orchestra and even released his first live album. If I could go back to almost any live performance, that's definitely high on my list. While at a Christmas party, Brian was playing songs on his piano while the wife of the Beach Boys biographer David Leaf called out a request for the song Heroes and Villains, which was originally from Smile. To the astonishment of everyone present, Brian began playing and singing the song. This would lead to songs from Smile being slowly brought into the Brian Wilson tour setlist, which if you watched the Smile episode or you know anything about Smile, you know that Brian's kind of been tormented by these songs in this unfinished project of his for decades, that even just the sheer mention of Smile around him would make him uncomfortable. But here he is playing a song from it with no issue. Slowly but surely, an idea came to everyone's heads. What if they performed Smile in its entirety? One of the touring band members would download some of the old Smile tapes on his laptop and show them to Brian and try to workshop how the songs would kind of piece and fit together. It was during one of these sessions while on the song Do You Like Worms that they ran into issues reading some handwriting. Brian would end up calling Van Dyke Parks, who he had not spoken to in years, and immediately asked him what word came after the word cheering. Parks asked Wilson to fax him the lyric sheet, and within minutes, Parks called back and clarified the word was Indians. After Wilson and the touring band members finished their work for the day, Wilson called Van Dyke again and had a lengthier conversation, during which Parks accepted the invitation to join the project. So now this Bringing Smile Live project has Brian and the official lyric writer of the Smile project back in 1967. When rehearsal started, Brian would have a very hard time. Auditorial hallucinations caused him to have a panic attack, and he would even drive himself to a hospital. He would be fine hours later, but he was having a very difficult time. Eventually, this project, which would be named Brian Wilson Presents Smile, would premiere at the Royal Festival Hall on February 20th, 2004. At the end of the performance, Brian would receive a 10-minute long standing ovation. Van Dyke would join Brian on stage afterwards in tears. The touring member who helped Brian construct it, Darian Sahanaja, would say, "The standing ovation was indescribable. I had never seen anything like it as an audience member or a performer. They wouldn't let him speak or say anything. I stepped up to him and said, Brian, I think they like Smile." Sahanaja reported that after the show, Wilson rocked back and forth backstage out of relief that he had finally conquered his fear of Smile, exclaiming, Darian, we did it, we did it." The show was performed again every night for a week straight, with every night being sold out. Brian also agreed to record the reconstructed album in a studio, and after months of work, the album would be recorded and released as Brian Wilson Presents Smile, or BWPS, on September 28, 2004. This album would go to number 13 on the Billboard 200, the highest a Brian Wilson or a Beach Boys album has gone since 1976. It was also the best-selling album on Amazon for 2 weeks. This album also found a spot in Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time, and to this day is the third highest rated album on Metacritic. Now, I do want to tell you a little bit about what the other Beach Boys have been up to, but in the meantime, I want to show you a video of Brian Wilson actually performing during one of these performances. Getting to see old Brian finally get to do Smile in its entirety. We're only going to play his performance of Surf's Up, which is the halfway point on the album, but he gets this standing ovation, and getting to see Brian elated and happy and present in the moment, it makes me happy, and I hope it makes you happy, and I hope it makes you smile. And coming up after the music break, I will be talking about what the other Beach Boys have been up to. But in the meantime, here is Brian Wilson performing Surf's Up in 2004, including Smile, live from the Media Hub on riotradio.ca.
A diamond necklace played the part, hand in hand some drums along wall, to a handsome man in guitar. Upline class aristocracy, back through the opera glass you see, the pit and the pendulum draw. Culminated ruin starring on. Canvas the town and brush the backdrop. Are you sleeping? Hung velvet overtaking me, dim chandelier awaken me to a song dissolved in the dark. The music hall a costly vow, the music all is lost for now, to a muted trumpeter's swan. Colonnaded ruin storming on. Canvas the town and brush the backdrop. Are you sleeping, Brother John? Dove nested tower, the hour was strike, the street, quicksilver moon. Carriage across the fog, to step, to left, like cellar tune. The laughs come hard in all lands on. The glasses raise the fire, roast the fullness of the wine, the dim glass toasting. What a pour to do or die. A choke of grief, hard-hearted eye, beyond belief, a broken man too tough to cry. Surf's up, aboard a tidal wave. Come about hard and join the young, and off in spring you gave. I heard the word, wonderful thing, a children's song. A children's song.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Raedar, episode number 40 of the Raedar, number 16 of Beach Boys Summer, the season finale. How do you not love Brian Wilson? Isn't it wonderful seeing him smile at that standing ovation? He's so wonderful. Anyway, in 2000, a two-part TV series biopic retold the Beach Boys story in an overdramatic way called The Beach Boys: An American Family. Can you guess who it was produced by? You honestly could. It was John Stamos. He's everywhere. Sounds of Summer was also released, which is a compilation album. If you look up The Beach Boys on Spotify or Apple Music, odds are you find Sounds of Summer. Sounds of Summer is basically the quintessential definitive Beach Boys compilation album at this point. It was released in the summer of 2003, the same summer I was released, and goes multi-platinum. That's currently the Beach Boys compilation, and it has all of their top 40 hits, excluding The Little Girl I Once Knew and It's Okay, which is a shame because both of those are great. In 2005, Brian would release a free CD of re-recordings of Beach Boys classics. Now, Mike would sue Brian since he co-wrote some of these songs. Brian's wife, Melinda, claimed that Mike said, and this is real, in case you thought, well, maybe Mike's not all that bad. Mike says, "You better start writing a real big hit because you're going to have to write me a real big check." Thanks, Mike. The case was dismissed in 2007 when a judge said it had no merit. In 2005, Mike would also sue Brian for misappropriating his songs, likeness, the Beach Boys trademark, and the Smile album. This case was also dismissed. In 2006, Brian would tour for the 40th anniversary of Pet Sounds and even have Al Jardine on him with him, joining him on tour. Al would also even release his own debut solo album, A Postcard from California, in 2010, which would feature posthumous vocals from Carl Wilson and also Glenn Campbell, the former Beach Boy Gone Country star. On December 16th, 2011, it was announced that a new Beach Boys album was in the works for the first time in a long time, as well as a 50th anniversary tour. I also want to mention, I didn't cover I didn't go song by song with Stars and Stripes Volume 1. I didn't think it was necessary because those songs. Honestly, it would just be 20 minutes of me going, it's okay, and that's it, because they're not really worth it. Check out Caroline No, The Warmth of the Sun, and whatever the opener is. Those three are okay. Toby Keith does an awful job. That's all you need to know. Anyway, because I needed to mention that. The group would perform at the Grammys in 2012, featuring a live group of Mike Love, Al Jardine, Brian Wilson, Bruce Johnston, and David Marks, the first time Brian has performed live with the Beach Boys since 1996, and the first time Al has performed with the Beach Boys since 1998. The songs for the upcoming album stemmed from demos that Brian set aside during sessions with his previous solo albums that he actually intended for the Beach Boys to begin with. Those sessions would begin with all of the surviving Beach Boys participating. All of the songs would be originals, including a 4-song-long suite at the end of the album, a la Smile. The sole producer for this album would be, you guessed it, not John Stamos, Brian Wilson, for the first time since 1977's Love You. To promote the album, the title track, which is called That's Why God Made the Radio, would be released on April 25th, 2012 on ESPN's Mike and Mike in the Morning and later on YouTube. Isn't it weird for me to be saying stuff like 2012 and released on YouTube in this series? It's weird. The group would frequent late-night shows and do interviews to promote the album. A 1-hour documentary called Doing It Again was also made to show the making of the album and the 50th anniversary tour. They would also release a live album called The Beach Boys Live in Concert 50th Anniversary. The album That's Why God Made the Radio would release on June 5th, 2012. And people generally like the album. There was a lot of praise given to the last few songs especially. Like, the whole album was decent, but those last few songs apparently blew everything else out of the water. Beach Boys pun intended. And I don't blame them, and I can't wait to talk to you song by song about it. One big criticism that people had for the album, though, and if you look on any, like, Rate Your Music or Album of the Year or anything, a lot of people criticized the album for its use of autotune, which is really, really blatant in this album, which kind of sucks, because what do you listen to the Beach Boys for if not the beautiful harmonies, which there are some on the album, and I'm looking forward to getting into it. The album, if you can believe it, which I almost didn't believe it, would debut at number 3 on the Billboard 200, which is the highest a Beach Boys album has charted since 1974's compilation album Endless Summer. It's also their highest studio album since Summer Days and Summer Nights in 1965, which is wild. Now, coming up after this music break, although that was a very short segment, I have 4 segments, and I have a lot to say, so I'm going pretty fast. Coming up after the music break, I'll be talking about the album song by song and just how it performed. And don't forget that you can follow us on social media at the DCSA Media Hub. You can follow me on Instagram at AlexRae, that's R-A-E. You can follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at The Raedar Live, also R-A-E. In the meantime, here are 2 tracks from That's Why God Made the Radio. The third last song and the second last song, both of these really, really strong. Here's Think About the Days and Pacific Ocean Highway by the Beach Boys from their last ever album, That's Why God Made the Radio, live from the Media Hub on riotradio.ca.
Sometimes I realize my days are getting on. Sometimes I realize it's time to move along. And I wanna go home. Sunlight's fading and there's not much left to say. My life, I'm better off alone. My life, I'm better on my own. Driving down Pacific Coast, out on Highway 1, the setting sun. Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode number 40 of The Raedar, episode number 16, the final episode of Beach Boys Summer, where we're reviewing the last 2 Beach Boys albums. Stars and Stripes Volume 1 sucks, and this album is pretty good, in case you missed it. So, yeah, that was, I do want to make a correction, though. We just played you the tracks Think About the Days and Pacific Ocean Highway. Think About the Days is the album opener. It's not the third last song, and Al doesn't sing it. I can't remember if I mentioned that. But if I did, I was wrong. What I was talking about was From There to Back Again, not Think About the Days. Regardless, though, why don't I go song by song with That's Why God Made the Radio, which I did make notes on my phone, kind of old-fashioned, I'd say old-fashioned like I used to do. So, Think About the Days, which we played you, a very pretty intro comprising of harmonies and piano, a great note to start on, especially on your last album. It's like boiling down your band to its most key parts. That's followed up by the title track, That's Why God Made the Radio. This is where the auto-tune becomes a bit evident. Other than that, the 50s style instrumental is endearing, as is the harmonies during the chorus. I can only imagine how great it would sound like without auto-tune and a little bit more minimalist and stripped back. Isn't It Time is next. It has less auto-tune. It's minimalistic with just Brian and a ukulele until it adds some more slowly. The production here feels very 2010s, which is really weird for a Beach Boys album. I don't know why it feels 2010s. I guess because there's that big ukulele boom, and it kind of works here. But it's like a big. It's like, wow, am I listening to Owl City or the Beach Boys? I guess One Republic would make more sense. But it's still endearing. I enjoy Isn't It Time. Isn't It Time is probably the best song so far I've told you about. That's followed up by Spring Vacation, a bit on the nose and not that catchy. The harmonies are nice, but I don't need another Beach Boys song name-dropping Good Vibrations. That's followed up by an incredibly weird pull or weird turn for the album, the track The Private Life of Bill and Sue. The Private Life of Bill and Sue is a song penned by Brian, and it's all about reality TV and like paparazzi focusing on celebrity life, which it's like, that's a weird turn to make on the last Beach Boys album. But then again, just when you think that Brian can become predictable in his geriatric years, he pulls the rug out from under you and goes, yeah, I'm going to write about whatever I want. I don't care about the ocean. It's such a funny concept, and I love that it's on here, honestly. It's really, the track is just okay, but I can only imagine the look on Mike's face when Brian said, yeah, let's write a song about reality TV. That's my Brian Wilson impression, 16 episodes in. That's followed up by Shelter. The chord progression here, especially during the chorus, feels like a classic Beach Boys song. Brian still has it. I would love to hear a version of this song more stripped back, which you'll learn is kind of a theme of the album. Shelter, though, is really strong. I really enjoy the track Shelter. That's followed up by Daybreak Over the Ocean. The harmonies are nice, but the song feels weightless. The song basically repeats, bring my baby back to me, which it's like every Beach Boys song is about bringing your baby back to you. And it wouldn't be surprising to you or me to learn that Mike Love wrote this one. It's not a bad song, but it's like, I miss my baby. I wish she was here. It's like, yeah, you guys have missed your baby for the last 50 years. What's going on else? What's it like being 70 and being a Beach Boy? You know, why isn't this like your Black Star? You know, what's interesting? What do you have to say? I don't know. That's followed up by Beaches in Mind, which is the worst song on the album. And if you can believe it, also written by Mike Love. It feels a bit Summer in Paradisey. The production is leagues ahead of that album, mind you, but this Mike Love song is super weak. We have beaches on our mind. I bet you do. You're the Beach Boys. What else do you have going on? Come on. This is your 29th album. 30th if you count Smile, which I don't know if you do. That's followed up by Strange World, the fourth last song. It's very reminiscent of Phil Spector at times, which is a good thing. Brian's voice is always endearing, so no matter how much auto-tune is piled on. The song isn't bad at all. I find it cute, but I don't anticipate revisiting it. In case it seems like I've been pretty harsh on this album, like I said previously in the last segment, the last three songs are what saves it. From There to Back Again is a ridiculously strong track, maybe the best vocal performance from Al in his entire career, including Help Me Rhonda and other songs he sang on. From There to Back Again is nostalgic like other Beach Boys songs this late in the game, but it feels like real nostalgia because it feels a bit conflicted, you know. It sucks that the good times are gone, but I miss the good times, and that conflict feels real in this song, and Al's vocals do a great job carrying that motif throughout it. The harmonies are excellent as well. The second last song we just played you, Pacific Coast Highway. This is what I wanted from this album. I wanted real Brian feeling real things, the real 70-year-old Brian Wilson reflecting. It's super strong, but I wish it was longer. And the last song by the Beach Boys ever released on a studio album is Summer's Gone, which is an apt name for the last Beach Boys song. I can thankfully say it's worthy of that title. Probably the best song on the album and maybe the best Beach Boys song in years. Delightfully melancholic in a way only Brian can be. The instrumental harks back to Pet Sounds in a very meaningful way. A great final song from the Beach Boys. The Summer's Gone is just an excellent song. It doesn't feel like it has Mike on it at all, which is a positive. It just sounds like Brian singing about how summer's over and people have came and gone. Maybe he should stay or maybe he should leave. Just this inner conflict that Brian's always dealt with. And it's just a really strong closer. Now, when the tour for That's Why God Made the Radio ended in September, Mike and Bruce announced that the band would continue touring with its former lineup, without Brian, Al, or David. This apparently surprised Brian, Al, and David. Mike later said that he would never fire Brian Wilson, and he could not fire Brian Wilson, even though, evidently, Mike Love did in fact fire Brian Wilson. Brian, Al, and David would continue to tour on their own as a trio, and even featured former Beach Boy Blondie Chaplin. Remember Blondie Chaplin from Holland and Carl Passion's So Tough? He would be featured on a tour with those boys. So everyone say, yay, welcome back, Blondie. Let me rearrange us a bit here. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to put Brian here. We're going to put Mike. Mike and Bruce are the touring Beach Boys now, for better or worse. So we're going to put them right there. And we're going to put these three here. This is basically the camps of the Beach Boys now. In 2014, when Brian was asked if he had any interest in making music with Mike again, he said, "I don't think so, no," which shout out Brian Wilson. In 2016, Brian would release a second, more authentic autobiography after the one Eugene Landy basically ghost wrote in the 90s. This one would be called I Am Brian Wilson. You know who else would release an autobiography in 2016? Mike Love in the book Good Vibrations, My Life as a Beach Boy. Oh boy, what a book. In 2020, Mike and Bruce would do a show at the Safari Club International Convention, an organization trying to fight for the right to hunt for fun. Brian and Al's social media would ask fans to boycott. Later on in October of 2020, Brian and Al were uninformed and did not support about another performance that Mike and Bruce would put on as the Beach Boys at a fundraiser for Donald Trump's re-election campaign. The show isn't about politics, but that is despicable. Now, on the film side of things, I do want to mention that a biopic based on the life of Brian Wilson, starring Paul Dano as a young Brian Wilson and John Cusack as an older Brian Wilson, called Love and Mercy, was released on September 7th, 2014. This film portrayed both the Pet Sounds era of Brian's life, as well as the second time he was with Eugene Landy. Say that 5 times fast. This film is praised for its gorgeous cinematography, strong writing, and engaging portrayal of the creative process. Better than, say that again. What'd you say? That's a good idea for a song. Actually getting to see Brian workshop Pet Sounds in real time through Paul Dano's performance is incredible. It's considered one of the best musical biopics ever. In fact, I do want to play you a clip from the movie, if we can do that. I don't know where my script is, so I don't know. There we go. Coming up after this break, I will be talking about the future of the Beach Boys and catching you a little bit more up to speed. Please don't forget that you can follow us on social media at the DCSA Media Hub. You can follow me on Instagram at AlexRAe, that's R-A-E. You can follow this show on Instagram and Twitter at the Raedar Live, also R-A-E. In the meantime, here is the best scene from the Beach Boys biopic Love and Mercy, live from the Media Hub on riotradio.ca.
Hey, Carol. How's it going? Groovy shades. Lyle, how's it going? Hal, hey, good to see you. I want you to meet Tony Asher. Tony Asher, this is Hal Blaine, the greatest drummer working today. And you never heard of him, have you?
Sorry, it's okay.
No, that's the secret. All these guys, Hal, Tommy, Carol, Earl, the whole band. I mean, they're probably the best in the business, but they're studio musicians, so nobody's ever heard of them. It's crazy. Huh?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. Here you go.
Yeah. Kettle drums? Thought we were doing rock and roll.
Oh, whole new bag.
So what do we got going here, Brian?
I don't know, Hal. Just some ideas. Try something? Oh, excuse me. Yeah, just try it. That's exactly how I want it. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? Let's add a little tie right here. I think this will sound better, a little smoother right there.
Okay, so you want to tie the first one?
Okay, this is I'm Waiting for the Day, take 6.
Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, that was out of sight. I mean, it really was, Al. How did you play that?
I don't know.
What? The, how did you play that?
It was a mistake.
Well, if you repeat a mistake every 4 bars, it's not a mistake anymore.
Yeah, you see what I mean?
I love it.
All right.
No, that was great. Okay, let's do it again. remember, it's the higher octave on the upbeats in the bridge.
Hey, Brian.
I love that.
Brian.
Yeah.
I think you might have screwed up here.
Really? Let me see.
Well, you've got Lyle playing in D, and the rest of us are in A major.
Yeah, that's right.
How does that work? 2 bass lines in 2 different keys?
Well, it works in my head. It's all playing in my head, the orchestration and the 5 vocal parts. I think it's gonna work. Let's try it. No, Hal, here's how I want you to do it. It goes, boom, 2, 3, 4, ba-doom. So it's the first beat on the last bar of the intro. Boom, 2, 3, 4, ba-doom.
That was a bit jarring. Hi, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode number 40 of the Raedar, episode number 16 of Beach Boy Summer, the final episode of Beach Boy Summer. What an awesome scene. That's the actual studio they did Pet Sounds in, too, that they're filming in. Just an awesome movie. Please check it out. I don't think it's on any streaming services, so do what you can. It's a great movie. I highly recommend Love and Mercy. I've never had a bad experience watching it. It's such a great movie. Speaking of movies that the Beach Boys have had based on them or taken part with, in 2004, a documentary detailing the creation of Brian Wilson Presents Smile called Beautiful Dreamer was directed by Beach Boys biographer and expert David Leaf in 2004, like I said. Excuse me. Another Brian Wilson documentary called Long Promised Road was released on June 15th, 2021, detailing Brian's life as he was then. The documentary was praised by some but criticized by others for exploiting his vulnerability for the sake of the documentary. For example, at one point in the documentary, Brian finds out about the death of Jack Riley, the guy who managed the Beach Boys in 1970 to 1974. And it's just kind of weird to see Brian find that out in real time. Just last year, in 2024, a documentary intended to be the definitive look at the Beach Boys' entire musical history was released on Disney Plus called The Beach Boys. The remaining Beach Boys would reunite in the documentary for a brief sit-down and sing-along at Paradise Cove in LA, where the cover for the band's first album, Surf and Safari, was taken. There have also been a few re-releases of anniversaries, remixes, and remasters, including Feel Flows in 2021, which included a gigantic, 4-hour-long box set of demos, outtakes, studio chatter, different versions, just vocals only, drums only type of tapes of Sunflower and Surf's Up. And in 2022, they did pretty much the same thing for Sail On Sailor, which included Carl and the Passions, So Tough, and Holland, so both from 1972 and 73. Unfortunately, there is no easy way to segue into this. Unfortunately, on June 11th, 2025, a day after I did the episode of this show reviewing and talking about Smile, Brian Wilson passed away, and I did a tribute to the late, great Brian Wilson in the Smiley Smile and Friends episode. So I'll try not to, meander on Brian's passing too much, because obviously I did that when I did that episode, but obviously unfortunate timing. Not that any timing for Brian Wilson's passing is good, but, just unfortunate. In the future, though, relating to the Beach Boys, what do we have to look forward to? Well, as time stands right now, Bruce and Mike continue to tour, as they've toured every year with the Beach Boys. They continue to tour sometimes with John Stamos as still. So great. Thanks, John. A new box set has been teased and rumored called Brothers Studios 1454, which is supposed to release this fall, so September, October, maybe in a month from now, which would contain unheard demos, sessions, and remasters of songs from the albums 15 Big Ones, Love You, and finally, the official release of Adult Child, the Beach Boys album that was never to be. That was finished, and Brian showed the boys, but they said, no, we're not releasing this. The Andy Paley sessions are supposedly going to be released, which is great, as I mentioned earlier, as is another album called Cows in the Pasture, an album by an artist named Fred Vale, who was the Beach Boys manager. The album was produced by Brian and his work on it continued in 2024 with a feature, with even a documentary being made on its production. This year, Al began to tour with Brian's live band, nicknamed the Pet Sounds Band, and especially highlight Beach Boys deep cuts for the fans, as opposed to the Mike Love touring group, which is just kind of, the hits from the 60s. Especially Al will also focus on songs from the Love You era. So if you love Ding Dang, that's where it is. Currently, the Beach Boys have sold over 100 million records worldwide and helped show that pop music could be a true art form. They influenced and inspired the creation of genres like lo-fi and even punk. They've had 37 songs in the Billboard Hot 100, the most of any American band ever. Rolling Stone ranks them as the 12th greatest musical act of all time, and the albums Today, Smiley Smile, Wild Honey, Sunflower, and Surf's Up are considered some of the greatest ever made, with Pet Sounds often being hailed as one of, if not the greatest album ever made. I might be biased, but duh. The band was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1980 and were even put in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988. Pet Sounds was preserved in the National Recording Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, and or aesthetically significant. And David Leaf, the Beach Boys historian and friend of Brian Wilson that I mentioned previously, I need to talk about David Leaf a little bit because David Leaf is an important figure to the Beach Boys that I've kind of neglected to mention. David Leaf is the Beach Boys fan. If you think I'm obsessed, David Leaf is the guy. David Leaf met the Beach Boys in the 70s and since then has written multiple different books about the Beach Boys and even had the honor of giving the eulogy at Brian Wilson's funeral. If you want to get into the Beach Boys, I recommend reading that eulogy, and it's heartbreaking. It's really beautiful. It's really heartbreaking, but he does a great job. David Leaf, we love David Leaf. And it just so happens that last year, or this year, I can't really remember, David Leaf would release another book about the creation of Smile itself in the 60s and the 70s. And it's a very, very interesting book. I hope I can get it, and I hope I can take a look at it. But David did an Ask Me Anything on Reddit just a few weeks ago to have people ask him questions about him and the Beach Boys. And I thought I'd take advantage of this time, and I'd ask him a question about what to say to the next generation of Beach Boys fans. So I asked him, I said, hey, I have my own college radio show where I talk about the Beach Boys and I'm doing these two albums. Do you have any thoughts to the next generation of Beach Boys fans? And he actually replied. So a guy who's literally met Brian Wilson knows about this show, which is really, really cool. He replied verbatim, "Very cool that you're doing that on your college radio station. I look at people like Gigan and Jenny, who are two very, very great influencers and YouTubers who make Beach Boys content, not primarily, but mostly, as the next generation of Beach Boys fans. My feeling is that if you listen to their greatest hits and the 3-album sequence of Today, Summer Days, and Pet Sounds, and Sunflower, and the Beach Boys Smile sessions, you will either understand how incredible they are or you won't. If those records don't make you want to go down the rabbit hole and listen to the Friends and Surf's Up and Surf a Girl and All Summer Long and shut down Volume 2 albums, then nothing will. And while I didn't write much about it, that's why God Made the Radio was a gigantic surprise in how good it was. So in the end, please check out Pet Sounds if you liked it. Check out the rest." So, yeah, that's it. That's Beach Boys Summer. That's basically it. I want to thank David Leaf for replying to me. I didn't realize how much time I had left, so this gives me a lot of time to yap. So let me take a drink of my water first, because I'm going a little bit off script for this part. So, where do I begin? First of all, I want to thank everyone who's ever watched the show, who might be watching right now. I got to upload these episodes onto YouTube, and they have done pretty well. Like, I say pretty well. They have done better than anything I've ever made regularly. I have an audience. I've gotten comments on YouTube, people saying, like, ever since Brian passed, I've wanted to get into the Beach Boys, and I'll be using the series to get into them. And that's the highest honor anyone can give me. I went from like 100 subscribers to 322. The latest episode has 69 views, then 124, 237, 138. It's ridiculous the amount of views I'm getting for these episodes. My Pet Sounds episode has 833 views, which is ridiculous, and I'm so grateful. I can't be more grateful than that. I also especially want to thank anyone who's listening to me talk about the Beach Boys outside of this. I realize I may be a bit annoying, but I love the Beach Boys. I don't know how you can not love the Beach Boys. I think this series has probably sealed them as my band then, my signature band. I love the Beatles, cue eye rolls. I love the Beatles. I love Ween. I love Gorillaz. I love all those groups. I love ELO, but I think this has locked in the Beach Boys as my favorite group of all time. They did pass the Beatles in my most streamed artists of all time. And if we can we cue the visual now that I have ready for us? I have written 68 total pages for this show, almost 2,000 words per script. So that is insane. Those are real pages I've written, and those don't include half pages or the first 2 episodes of the show. Those are all real words, including the ones I wrote for this episode. So that's real. That's how much I've written for this show. Anyway, back to me, because I'm a stud. To write that much and to care this much, it was effortless. To write 2,000 words, this episode, like this script, 2,500 words I've written for this episode, and I couldn't be more honored to talk about a band like this. There's something about the Beach Boys, I can't say that no other band has, but just speaks to me in such a specific way that I feel like is so universal. You know, you can put on Warmth of the Sun or Surfin' USA or I Get Around for a baby, and it'll have the same reaction as an old man. And not many musical acts can say that, you know. This is a really stupid anecdote, but there's this TikTok I saw. There's this trend going around where it's like when you're trying to be nonchalant in the 60s, but then, you know, the Huzz puts on "I Get Around" by the Beach Boys, and like it shows a guy dancing and stuff, and it's like, and all the comments are like, but this song goes hard, and it's like, yeah, it does. The Beach Boys are timeless. Although there was like, I don't want to say the sludge, but the kind of, you know, pit we got into there in the 70s and in the 80s and 90s, a little bit at the end there is no magic like there is with the music that Brian Wilson wrote in the 60s. The Warmth of the Sun, Surfin' USA, I Get Around, California Girls. There is just something really magical and really universal about the songs he wrote, about that very special kind of melancholy that he sang with. You can listen to those songs right now and go, well, I hear tons of sad pop music. Brian Wilson invented that. I mean, maybe not literally invented sad pop, but he was the one who really said, no, listen, pop music isn't just popular. It can be interesting. It can say something, and it can mean something. And I think that's incredible. The story of Brian Wilson is what hooked me on the Beach Boys to begin with, to learn about the struggles he had making Smile, let alone Pet Sounds. Oh my God. I mean, yesterday I was in Toronto with my friends, and I made a joke. I said, oh, if I had a quarter for every time you did this. And then my friend Siraj said, yeah, okay, and you have to give me a quarter every time you mention the Beach Boys. Which he got me there. But also, I am so honored to be associated with such a beautiful musical act that made such beautiful music that means so much to so many people. And earlier, a couple months ago when Brian Wilson passed, to get to see all these memorials and tributes come in, to see the flowers left at the Hollywood Walk of Fame star, to see so many different tributes to different artists and drawings, it just warms my heart. And not to mention the amount of people who reached out to me. How lucky am I to be associated with Brian Wilson, with the genius of Brian Wilson? I cannot possibly put into words how much I love it. I mentioned in a couple episodes ago, maybe Beach Boys fatigue. I'm not fatigued by the Beach Boys. Those albums just kind of sucked. But overall, I'll never get tired of the Beach Boys. I love the Beach Boys with my entire heart, and I don't think there's a musical act that means more to me than them. I do also want to give a special thank you to my mom, who's watched like almost every episode of this show, if not every episode. I appreciate it. I really, really do. Even though I just reply like, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. I'm very lucky to have that. And I also want to give a very, very special thank you to my tech and my girlfriend Quinn, who has listened to me yap about the Beach Boys almost every single day. And it's I can't imagine what it's like to listen to someone talk about something like this much. Quinn can now name every Beach Boy, including John Stamos, and I'm so sorry. So special thank you to Quinn. My muse. I couldn't be doing it without them. Also, because I have time, special thank you to Richard Medwood, Quinn's dad, for liking Little Deuce Coupe. Quinn has their hands like this. Yeah, I'm shouting out Richard Medwood. Also, my dad watches this show too. But anyway, I'm pretty much just yapping here. Thank you so much. Oh, I have them here. I don't know why I'm not showing them off. I have all the Beach Boys here. Special thank you to Funko for making Beach Boys Funko Pops, but not for not making Bruce and David and all of them. But yeah, I guess that's the note to leave it off of. This is the greatest project I've ever done, and I look forward to seeing you back here in September. I don't know exactly where I'm going to start, but the show's going to keep going, so feel free to stick around. I hope I can continue to uploading these to YouTube, maybe on a Spotify. I'm not feeling lazy. Please don't forget to check out any of the other shows on Riot Radio, especially in September when hopefully I can tease. I can't tease this? I can't tease it. But, fun things in the works. If you like that Love and Mercy clip, check out Riot Radio. Movie fans. Anyway, I guess that's it, really. Thank you so much for watching. Really, I mean it. I love this show, and I love doing this. That's the end of our show today. I look forward to seeing you back here in September. Please don't forget that you can follow us on social media at the DCSA Media Hub. You can follow me on Instagram at AlexRA, that's R-A-E. You can follow this show on Instagram and Twitter at the Raedar Live, also R-A-E. In the meantime, with all the love and mercy I can possibly provide, here is the final Beach Boys song ever made. And stick around for the end because there is a cute little thing I left there at the very end of the song. See if you can enjoy it. Here is Summer's Gone by the Beach Boys from their final album, That's Why God Made the Radio, playing us out live from the Media Hub on riotradio.ca.
Summer's gone. For those who still have more to say. Summer's gone, gone like yesterday. The night's grown cold, it's time to go. I'm thinking maybe I just should stay. Another summer Summer's gone. It's finally sinking in. One day begins, another ends. I live them all and back again. Summer's gone. I'm gonna sit and watch the waves. We laugh, we cry, we live and die, and dream about our yesterday.
I'm bugged at my old man, 'cause he's making me stay in my room. Darn my dad, I came in a little late. My old man, he just blew his mind. Blew his dad. Oh, why did he sell my surfboard? He cut off my hair last night in my sleep. I could see outside, but he tacked up boards on my window. Gosh, it's dark. I can't hit the surf, can't drag, can't do a doggone thing. Wish I could. I tried to call up my chick,